We live in the age of speed. The messages arrive in seconds. The world changes every minute, and expectations about young people seem to double each year. Never charged so much, never demanded so much. Current youth is tired, overwhelmed, and often silently anxious. Paradoxically, we have more freedom than ever, but also more fear. Fear of not realizing, of not fitting, of disappointing. And in the midst of so much information, it lacks guidance. Firm ground is missing. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, faced wars, conspiracies, and losses. And yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not about events. Realize it, and you will find strength." He spoke directly to anxiety, long before the word existed. Today, young people wonder, am I going the right way? Why do I feel lost really doing everything right? Am I the only one like that? No, you are not alone. And the Stoic people didn't come to judge you, but remind you that there is a way out, and it starts inside you. Anxiety is not freshness. It is a body scream trying to warn that there is something out of the axis. And trying to solve this only with empty motivational phrases doesn't work. What you need is a solid, practical path that calms thought and strengthens the heart. This is what Stoic philosophy can offer you. This video is for those who feel the heart rapidly without knowing why. For those who charge themselves too much, compare to all the time, and live in fear of failing. For those who, even surrounded by people, feel an internal silence that hurts. The good news? You can learn to live more lightly without abandoning your dreams. Stoic philosophy does not promise to take the fear, but she teaches you how to face him standing, keeping calm even when everything collapses. And more than that, she reminds you that your strength is not what the world expects from you, but what you choose to cultivate within you. And that's what we'll talk about now. Anxiety is an alarm. The problem is when the alarm plays nonstop. For Stoics, it is not the facts that afflict us, but the way we interpret them. Epictetus said, "Don't be disturbed by things, but with your opinion." It sounds simple, but it's deep. Imagine that you received a message and the person visualized, but did not respond. The anxious mind already creates 1,000 theories. Is she angry with me? Did I do something wrong? In fact, it can only be busy. But the distorted judgment feeds anxiety. Stoics call it doxa, that is, opinion. And the more the mind manufactures stories, the more it suffers. Stoic practice is learning to perceive this process and slow down the machine from thoughts. Separate fact of fantasy. Another example, there will be a job interview. You already imagine everything going wrong. But did it happen? No. It's just your mind trying to prepare and exaggerating the dose. The anxious mind tries to predict everything, but that runs out. For the Stoic, what hurts us is not the world, but the way we react to it. To recognize this is not to blame yourself. It is taking control. And this is the first step towards leaving the maze of anxiety. Stop believing in everything the mind says when it is afraid. Imagine you're on the high seas. The sea is the world, unpredictable, agitated. But you have the helm, and this helm is your mind. Stoics said, we control our thoughts, our acts, our desires. The rest is not in our hands. This is liberating. You do not control the climate, the traffic, the mood of others. But you can choose how to react to all this. Stoicism is like a mental shield that protects you not from feeling, but from drowning in feelings. It is internal discipline. How many times have you blamed yourself for something that was not even your fault? Or was it brooding over for something I couldn't change? This is where anxiety is born. It grows when we try to control the uncontrollable. But there is wisdom to release. An anxious young man thinks, what if it goes wrong? Stoic replies, if it goes wrong, they'll be ready. The force is in preparation, not in the control of the result. Calm is born of sincere effort, not the guarantee of success. It is not weakness not being able to control everything. It's human, but it is wise to recognize where your real power lies and use it with courage. This is one of the greatest Stoic lessons for those who feel their hearts rapidly for no reason. We live surrounded by showcases. Each story is a clipping edited of happiness, and the young brain, still forming, thinks that this is real life. The comparison is inevitable and devastating, but the Stoics already warned against it. Don't compare. Be better than you yesterday. Anxiety grows when we look at each other and feel we are late, but the time of each one is unique. Epictetus said, "You have your way. Don't be distracted by the journey of others." This is worth gold in the digital age. Imagine someone posting the graduation, the trip, the perfect relationship. You look and feel bad, but he didn't see the tears, the crises, the inner battles. Just the photo with filter. The comparison is unfair because it is incomplete. Stoics call us reason you know your pain. Don't compare with the edited joy of others. True peace is knowing, accepting, and walking with patience. Anxiety shouts run. Stoic replies, walk firm. Be you on the networks, or rather be you out of them. The network is an extension, not the essence. Take care of your real world. He is the only one where true self-esteem can flourish without likes, but truth. One of the biggest mistakes that cause youth anxiety is to live constantly in and if. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work? But Stoicism teaches the future does not yet exist. It is created by what you do today. So instead of fearing the future, build it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop discussing how to be a good man. Be one." This goes for the future. Stop worrying so much about tomorrow and invest in the now with action. Studying, working, taking care of health, reading, developing. This is building a future without getting lost in fantasies of failure. Studying is not pressure. It is preparation. Imagine that you will climb a mountain. Anxiety shouts, "What if I fall?" Stoico replies, "I will train my feet." The young man who studies, who seeks knowledge, is doing his best, and this is all that can be required. But don't compare yourself. Each mind has its time. Some learn fast, others build silent. Epictetus taught some flourish in summer, some in the fall. Everything in time. You are not late, you are in formation. Respect this process. It is not about dropping the future, but of planting today without panicking with the harvest. Anxiety paralyzes because it only sees the end. Stoicism teaches to love the way. What you do today, carefully, is already shaping who you will be. And that is enough. Anxiety also grows when we fight what has happened or against what we cannot change. Stoics called it love fati, the love of fate, not as resignation, but as a practical wisdom. Accept, then transform. Imagine you didn't pass the entrance exam. You can despair or use this as a fuel to study more and try again. Seneca said, "Luck favors the prepared mind." Stoic is not stuck in the past. He learns from him and acts. Accepting is different from giving up. It is to realize the terrain where you are and then decide the next steps. Anxious young people tend to paralyze to the first failure, as if it defined everything. But failure is just a chapter, not the end of the book. You do not control the outcome of the test, but it controls how much is dedicated. It does not control the other's gaze, but takes care of its intention. The anxious mind wants absolute security, but Stoic wisdom lives with courage within uncertainty. Anxiety wants you to fight everything. Stoicism teaches you how to choose your battles well. Accept what it is. Change what you can. Release what doesn't depend on you. And continue, always with dignity, always with presence. Young people without direction feel lost, and that feeds anxiety. Having a purpose does not mean having everything resolved. It means knowing what is important to you now and walking in that direction. Stoicism values this clarity. Epictetus said, "First decide who you want to be, then act as such. Don't expect a big call. Its purpose can be to study with dignity, take care of the family, get to know each other better. Small daily missions also have value, but the purpose requires discipline. It is not doing when you will, but even without will." Anxious young people often charge themselves because they are not motivated. But Stoicism does not depend on emotion, it depends on the commitment to what matters. An example: you want to pass a test. There are days that will be excited, others tired. The anxious mind wants emotional perfection. Stoic knows that the value is in the constant effort. Peace is born of consistency, not the result. When it is directed in effort, anxiety loses strength. Because you are no longer drifting, you are rowing, even slowly. Stoicism reminds us go firmly, even without haste. Because perhaps where you want to go, you suffer less from deviations. One of the greatest sources of anxiety is to believe that what we feel now will be eternal. But no emotion is. Everything will calm down. Stoics saw emotions as waves, strong, intense, but fleeting. And the wise mind learns to navigate. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes that with what feeds." If you fear your mind with fear, fear grows. It feeds clearly, the tranquility grows. Observing your thoughts is the beginning of healing. An anxious young man may feel that his life is crumbling because one day it was bad. But one day does not define life. Like a dark cloud in the sky, it will pass. Seneca said, "The mind that rises above the storm finds peace. The anxiety lies." She says everything is out of control, that you will never improve, that no one understands you. Stoic hears that voice, but does not obey. He observes, breathes, acts right, and the voice gradually silences. You are not your anxiety. You are the one who watches her. And who watches, learns. Learning is transforming. And transforming is what makes life less heavy and more true. Emotions come and go, but wisdom remains. Anxiety often arises from the attempt to avoid discomfort. We run away from talking, trying, making a mistake. But the Stoics teach that the path of virtue goes through courage, not the escape. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Seneca said, "Fire proves gold. Adversity proves the brave." In youth, it is common to be afraid of judgment, of failure, not to be good enough. But each time you face this fear, something within you grows. Imagine a young man who avoids performing at school for the termination of making mistakes. And a Stoic would say, "Present yourself, err, learn." It is in the discomfort that true confidence is built. It's not a jump, it's a step. Then another. Then another. The anxious mind wants to be sure before acting. Stoicism teaches to act based on reason, not emotion. If it makes sense, if it is necessary, do it. Even in fear. Especially with fear. Because courage is trained on the battlefield. Avoiding life to avoid pain only brings more pain. The young man who agrees to live with intensity and presence understands that making mistakes is part of the process. Anxiety loses strength when it has nowhere to hide. When you face, it decreases. Anxiety loves chaotic environments. The mind feels lost when it has no routine, a structure. Stoics knew this and valued the order, discipline, and repetition of good habits. They believed that the body and the soul needed constancy. Marcus Aurelius, even emperor, woke up early, exercised, wrote in his diary. He said, "Get up. You were born for that." The discipline is not punishment, it is self-care. It is creating a space where the mind feels safe. For the anxious young man, the routine is an anchor. Sleep at the same times. Eat carefully, separate time for study and leisure. This is not rigidity, it is affection with your own balance. And balance is fertile soil for tranquility. Think like a house. If each brick is calmly placed, it sustains itself. But if you have a hurry and based on it, it collapses in the first wind. Your mind is this house. Each healthy habit is a safe brick in place. Does not underestimate the power of small routines. A glass of water upon waking up. A moment of silence. A diary of gratitude. These things look silly until you realize how your day changed. And a calm day changes a lifetime. Stoics had a habit of reviewing the day before bed. They reflected, I was fair today. I was patient. What can I do best tomorrow? This simple and powerful practice helps the mind anxious to gain clarity and peace. Seneca suggested that each night be a balance, not to punish yourself, but to grow. When you understand your hits and slips, anxiety loses strength, because it is no longer about the fear of being insufficient, but about the sincere desire to evolve. Imagine a young man who, at the end of the day, writes, "Today I had a difficult time, but I managed to breathe and avoid conflict." This is worth gold. It is recognizing progress, and the mind needs to see that it is walking, even slowly. This kind of reflection also helps to see standards. You begin to realize what irritates you, what calms you down, what unbalances you. Consciousness is the first step to change, and Stoicism is a philosophy of practical self-knowledge. No need to write pages. 3 phrases a day is enough. What did I learn today? How can I be better tomorrow? What did me well? These simple questions bring deep answers. And over time, you start sleeping more lightly. Youth is a period of intense friendships, emotional relationships, and fragile ties. And this can be an anxiety source. Stoics taught that we should walk with those who help us grow, not with those who consume us inside. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, get ready to be ridiculed. Many will mock your progress." Choosing well with those who walk is an act of courage. The anxious young people need friendships that bring peace, not constant tension. Think about how you feel after talking to certain people. Light or drained? Inspired or insecure? This is a thermometer. It is not about cutting ties coldly, but about choosing their companies consciously. Stoics valued the true bond, the one who does not need masks. Friendships based on affection and virtue. People who encourage you to be better without charging you perfection. This kind of relationship is anxiety remedy. And remember, you can also be that person to others. A gentle word, an attentive ear, a sincere presence. In a noisy world, who offers peace is lighthouse. Build relationships that heal. They will be your port on stormy days. Finally, the Stoics taught us that everything can be transformed into learning, even anxiety. It is not your enemy, it is a sign that something in you is asking for attention. Change, beware. And ignoring it doesn't solve it. Listening to it, yes. When anxiety comes, instead of despairing, ask, what does she want to show me? Perhaps it is exaggerating the charges. Maybe you need to rest. Maybe you need to change direction. Stoic does not escape, it sees wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes invincible when it rejects fear." This does not mean that he never appeared, but he was calmly and reasoned. You can do the same. You are stronger than you think. If you have gotten here, know you are not broken. You are learning to live with more presence, more clarity, and less hurry. Stoicism is a silent guide, an invisible force that accompanies you every day if you allow. Comment down here, I choose serenity. Subscribe to the channel to receive more content that feeds your soul. And remember, you are not alone. This walk is yours, but we are here, walking together. If you got here, it is because you have decided to look at something that many avoid, fear itself. And that, by itself, is already an act of courage. Anxiety does not define who you are. It is a part that can be understood, welcomed, and gradually transformed. Stoicism will not promise you that you will never feel anxious again, but it will give you tools so that even when the storm comes, you don't drive up, so that you learn to take a deep breath, act clearly, and remember that no emotion lasts forever. You can build your future without living stuck to it. You can study, prepare, grow without comparing with anyone, because your time is unique. Your journey is unique. And as Epictetus said, the important thing is not what happens to you, but how you react to what happens to you. Youth is a territory of discoveries and pain, but it is also the best time to plant virtues that will flourish for a lifetime. Stoicism is not just an ancient philosophy. It is a way of living with more balance, truth, and presence, exactly what is missing most today. So if something inside you feels this is the way, listen. Start with small steps. A new thought, a new habit, a new choice, and you'll see that anxiety gradually screams because you finally started listening to yourself. If this message spoke to you in any way, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Here, each video is made with soul and designed to help you live with more lightness and wisdom. And now tell me which part of this video has touched you the most? Comment down here with the phrase, "I choose serenity," so I will know that you are on this journey with me. We see each other in the next video. And until then, breathe, live, and remember you're stronger than you think.